First Contact's warning. The message that would change galactic history was sent from the Himalayan Quantum Communications Array at precisely 3:47 a.m. Earth Standard Time. Dr. Rajesh Patel watched the quantum particles dance across his holographic display, his dark eyes reflecting the shimmer of humanity's first faster-than-light transmission. "Are you certain about including the warning?" Lieutenant Monica West asked, her weathered face creased with concern as she reviewed the message one final time. The underground facility hummed with the energy of a dozen quantum cores, each one pushing the boundaries of physics in ways that would make traditional scientists weep. "Absolutely certain," Rajesh replied, his fingers moving across the haptic interface with practiced precision. "We've studied our own history too well to make first contact without it." The message itself was elegantly simple: "Greetings to all who receive this. We are humanity of Earth, seeking peaceful dialogue and mutual understanding. We respectfully request you consider our words carefully, please don't make us angry. We mean this sincerely and with goodwill." 12 light-years away, in the crystalline observation post of the Valoran Empire, High Observer Thexa's geometric form shifted through shades of azure and cobalt as the message arrived. In 1,000 years of watching primitive species stumble into the cosmic community, she had never encountered one that led with a warning. The Valoran Empire had spent millennia perfecting their crystalline technology, their society structured with the same geometric precision as their bodies. They were the self-appointed guardians of galactic order, guiding younger races into their carefully arranged hierarchy through what they called integration. Most peculiar, Thex resonated, her crystalline surface refracting starlight in complex patterns. They've achieved quantum communication without first mastering gravitational manipulation. And this warning. Her form flickered with what passed for amusement among her kind. Within hours, the Valoran High Council convened in their orbital chamber above their homeworld, Crystallos Prime. Ancient beings of living crystal reviewed Thexa's report with patronizing entertainment. "They've barely established outposts on their own moon," Council leader Zenith observed, his form pulsing with condescending light. "Yet they warn us not to anger them. The audacity." "Perhaps," Counselor Prism suggested, her pattern shifting to analytical green, "we should study them more closely. Any species that develops FTL communication through such an unconventional path might have other surprises." "Study them, yes," Zenith agreed, his pattern shifting to decisive crimson. "But also guide them. They clearly need to understand their place in the cosmic hierarchy." The Council's decision was unanimous. The Valoran Integration Fleet, 40 ships of living crystal powered by bound stellar cores, departed for Earth within the day. They would arrive in 6 months, more than enough time, they believed, for humanity to appreciate the gap between their civilizations. Back on Earth, Dr. Patel studied the Valoran response with growing concern. The message was beautiful, patterns of light that conveyed meaning directly to the brain. It spoke of welcome, of guidance, of elevation to a greater cosmic community. But something in its tone made his heart sink. "They're not taking us seriously," he told the United Earth Defense Council the next day. "Worse, they're treating us like children who need to be taught their place." The price of pride. The Valoran Integration Fleet emerged from hyperspace in a dazzling display of crystalline geometry, their ships catching Sol's light and transforming it into prismatic cascades. Fleet Commander Vertex observed the blue-green world through his ship's quantum sensors, his crystalline form pulsing with satisfaction at what he assumed would be humanity's awestruck response. Except humanity didn't respond with awe. Earth's orbital stations continued their work, ground-based telescopes tracked the Valoran ships with professional interest, and through the quantum frequencies came a simple message: "Welcome to Sol System. Please maintain your current distance from Earth. We look forward to peaceful dialogue." In the depths of the Himalayan facility, Dr. Rajesh Patel monitored the fleet's arrival alongside Lieutenant West and their new colleague, Dr. Olivia Zhang, whose theoretical work on quantum entanglement had revolutionized human defense systems. "They're maintaining formation," Olivia reported, her augmented eyes processing data streams from 1,000 sensors. Classical geometric patterns, beautiful but predictable. How long until they try to show off? Monica asked, checking the status of Earth's orbital defense grid. Based on their psychology profile? 3, 2, 1. The Valoran fleet spread out in a perfect geometric pattern, each ship positioning itself to create a resonance field that would demonstrate their mastery of space and time. It was a display that had humbled countless emerging civilizations. But as the resonance field began to form, something unexpected happened. Earth's quantum communication shifted frequency, perfectly matching and canceling the field's effects. Impossible, Vertex whispered, his crystalline surface clouding with confusion. They couldn't have analyzed and countered our technology so quickly. In the Himalayan facility, Rajesh allowed himself a small smile. Actually, he muttered, we've been practicing since we detected your approach 6 months ago. Around him, banks of quantum computers hummed, running simulations based on the light-bending properties of the alien ships. What the Valorans didn't understand was that humanity had spent those 6 months not in panic, but in preparation. Every telescope on and above Earth had been studying the fleet's approach, analyzing their technology, and developing countermeasures. They're adjusting their resonance pattern, Olivia announced. New frequency incoming. They still think this is about technology, Rajesh said, shaking his head. They don't understand that we warned them about our nature, not our capabilities. In orbit, Vertex faced a growing crisis. Every attempt to demonstrate Valoran superiority was being met with calm, calculated responses. The humans weren't behaving like any emerging civilization in recorded history. Perhaps, his second-in-command suggested, her crystalline form shimmering with uncertainty, we should attempt direct communication before proceeding with integration. No, Vertex decided, his form hardening with determination. They're using technological tricks, nothing more. Prepare the Enlightenment Beam. The Enlightenment Beam was the Valorans' pride, a technology that could rewrite a planet's information networks, replacing primitive systems with advanced Valoran knowledge. It was considered a gift, a way to elevate species into the galactic community. The beam lanced toward Earth, a stream of pure information that would overwhelm and transform human technology. But as it approached Earth's atmosphere, something unprecedented occurred. The beam split, its energy redirected through a network of quantum relays that humanity had positioned around their planet. Thank you for the technical documentation, Rajesh transmitted to the Valoran fleet. We look forward to reviewing it. Vertex's crystalline form trembled with the first hints of real concern. The humans hadn't just defended against the Enlightenment Beam, they had captured and contained it. Worse, they had done so without revealing any of their own technological capabilities. This species, his second-in-command said slowly, they didn't develop like the others did they? No, Vertex admitted, reviewing humanity's warning message with new understanding. They didn't warn us about their weapons or their defenses. They warned us about making them angry. As if in response, a new message arrived from Earth, we appreciate your attempt to share knowledge. However, we prefer to develop at our own pace. We ask again, please respect our boundaries. You won't enjoy the alternatives. In the Crystalline Council chamber, High Observer Thex received Vertex's report with growing alarm. These humans, she resonated, her form flickering with distress, they're not merely resistant to integration. They're prepared, as if they've spent their entire history expecting this moment. The truth was more complex than the Valorans could imagine. While they had spent millennia perfecting their crystalline technology along a single, elegant path, humanity had developed through chaos, conflict, and constant adaptation. In the Himalayan facility, Dr. Zhang studied the captured Enlightenment Beam with fascination. Their technology is perfect, she explained, projecting a hologram of the alien data. Elegant, beautiful, and completely predictable. That's their weakness. Predictable how? Monica asked, her cybernetic implants processing the tactical implications. The Valorans evolved their technology like growing a crystal, each advancement building perfectly on the last. But humanity? Olivia smiled. We stumbled forward like a drunken quantum physicist at a conference. We tried everything, failed spectacularly, and learned from each disaster. As the sun set over the Himalayas, humanity's defenders prepared for what they knew would come next. The Valorans, faced with the failure of their peaceful integration attempts, would soon show why they had dominated the galaxy for so long. But they still hadn't understood the warning, still hadn't grasped why a species would develop in such a chaotic way, or what kind of history would produce beings who advanced through disorder and warned others not to make them angry. They were about to find out. Adaptive response. The Valoran High Council's emergency session pulsed with agitated light patterns, their perfect crystalline chamber rippling with disturbed energy. The ancient beings reviewed Fleet Commander Vertex's report with growing unease. These humans, Council Leader Zenith's voice resonated with barely contained frustration, they aren't just resistant. They're methodical. Every response calculated, every defense prepared. How? In the Himalayan facility, Dr. Olivia Zhang was answering that very question. Her holographic display showed the complete analysis of the captured Enlightenment beam, its perfect crystalline code structure laid bare. Look at this, she told Rajesh and Monica, highlighting sections of the alien code. Their technology is like a perfect mathematical proof, beautiful, elegant, and utterly inflexible. They've never had to adapt to the unexpected because they've spent millennia ensuring nothing unexpected ever happens. Until now, Monica said, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. Her tactical display showed the Valoran fleet regrouping into new formations. They're moving again. Some kind of attack pattern. Ancient by their standards, Rajesh confirmed, consulting the data they'd extracted from the Enlightenment beam. The Spear of Dawn formation. Supposedly undefeated in 10,000 years of Valoran history. The Valoran ships arranged themselves into a precise geometric pattern, their crystalline hulls resonating in perfect harmony. Energy began to build between them, forming connections of pure light that would focus their combined power into an irresistible force. Should we be worried? Monica asked, watching the energy levels climb. Olivia smiled, her augmented eyes tracking quantum fluctuations across multiple dimensions. They're still thinking in straight lines. Watch this. Her fingers danced across her console, implementing a defense that would have given any conventional physicist a headache. The Valoran attack launched, a spear of pure energy that should have bypassed any possible defense through sheer geometric perfection. Instead, it encountered something that shouldn't have existed, a field of quantum particles that moved in patterns derived from Earth's weather systems. Impossible. Vertex's crystalline form crackled with stress as his perfect attack dissolved into harmless light. They're using atmospheric chaos patterns in space. That violates every principle of orderly combat. That's humanity for you, his second-in-command observed. Perhaps we should consider why they developed in such a seemingly random way. On Earth, the United Defense Council watched the exchange with grim satisfaction. General Thompson's cybernetic eye whirred as she processed the tactical data. Dr. Zhang's chaos defense worked perfectly. What's their next move? They'll try to adapt, Rajesh predicted, but adaptation isn't in their nature. They'll search their historical records for a solution, something that worked before. He was right. In the Valoran fleet, Vertex consulted archives spanning thousands of years of conflict. The crystalline cascade, he decided. No species has ever withstood it. The Valoran ships began to move again, this time forming a three-dimensional lattice that would create a cascade of quantum effects, overwhelming any defense through sheer complexity. It was their most sophisticated attack pattern, one that had brought empires to their knees. But humanity had spent centuries developing defenses that made no sense, preparing for threats they hadn't yet encountered. Dr. Zhang's quantum chaos theory met Valoran order head-on, while automated defense platforms reacted with algorithms based on predator-prey relationships from Earth's oceans. They're using biological patterns in their defense networks, Vertex reported to the High Council, his form showing signs of stress fractures. Their ships move like schools of fish, their energy patterns shift like weather systems, and their quantum responses, they're based on neural networks that mimic human brains. In the council chamber, the implications began to sink in. These humans, Counselor Prism observed, they've built their entire civilization on chaos and adaptation. Every failure taught them something new, every disaster forced them to evolve. We've spent millennia perfecting our path, they've spent their history exploring every path possible. The Valoran fleet launched attack after attack, each one perfect, each one failing in a new and unexpected way. Humanity's defenses weren't just technological, they were the product of a species that had never stopped learning, never stopped adapting, never assumed they had found the only right way to solve a problem. In the Himalayan facility, Dr. Zhang watched the Valorans' increasing desperation with a mixture of fascination and pity. They still don't understand, she told her colleagues. They think if they just find the right pattern, the perfect approach, they can overcome our chaos. They haven't realized that chaos is our pattern. Should we show them why? Monica asked, her hand hovering over the controls for Earth's more aggressive defense systems. Not yet, Rajesh advised. Remember, we warned them first. Let's give them one more chance to understand why. He composed a new message to the Valoran fleet, your attacks are impressive, but you're still missing the point. Our warning wasn't about our weapons or our defenses. It was about what happens when you force chaos to respond to threats. We've spent our entire history learning from conflict and adaptation. Do you really want to see what we've learned? As the message reached the Valoran fleet, Vertex's crystalline form showed the first signs of something the Valorans had rarely experienced, fear. Not of humanity's weapons or technology, but of something far more dangerous, a species that had turned unpredictability into an art form, that had learned to thrive in chaos while his people had hidden from it. The Valoran High Council received his report in silence, their perfect chamber feeling suddenly fragile. They had encountered countless species in their history, guided them all into their ordered hierarchy. But they had never met a species that had warned them a way out of what they were beginning to suspect wasn't weakness, but wisdom. As Earth's sun set on another day of failed attacks, the question that had been troubling the Valorans since first contact finally crystallized: what kind of history would create a species that warned others not to make them angry? And more importantly, what would happen if that warning went unheeded? Breaking crystal. The answer came in the form of humanity's first offensive move. Not with weapons or brute force, but with something the Valorans had never encountered: intentional imperfection. In the Himalayan facility, Dr. Rajesh Patel stood before the Defense Council, his hands moving through the holographic display of the Valoran fleet's crystal structure. Their entire civilization is built on resonance, he explained. Each ship, each system, tuned to perfect geometric harmony. But that's also their weakness. Dr. Olivia Zhang stepped forward, her augmented eyes glowing as she pulled up the data from the captured enlightenment beam. We've not just decoded their technology, she announced, we've discovered something they never considered: the power of controlled discord. General Thompson frowned, her cybernetic eye whirring as it processed the implications. Discord? You mean deliberately introducing flaws into their systems? Exactly, Monica added, understanding dawning in her expression. Like introducing a single off-key note into a perfect symphony. Small enough to penetrate their defenses, but precise enough to cascade through their entire harmonic structure. In orbit, Fleet Commander Vertex was preparing what he believed would be the decisive strike. His ships arranged themselves into the celestial crown formation, a geometric pattern that had subdued 1,000 worlds. They cannot resist the pure mathematics of. His declaration cut short as his sensors detected something new. Earth's orbital platforms had begun emitting energy patterns that seemed wrong. Discordant. Like deliberately mistuned instruments in a perfect orchestra. What are they doing? His second-in-command asked, her crystalline form showing signs of stress merely from observing the patterns. The answer came in waves of quantum interference that struck the Valoran formation with calculated imperfection. Where their ships expected harmony, they found discord. Where they sought geometric perfection, they encountered deliberate flaws that propagated through their crystalline structures like cracks in ice. Impossible. Vertex's form crackled with stress as his perfect formation began to distort. They're using chaos as a weapon. In the Himalayan facility, Olivia monitored the results with professional interest. The same properties that make their technology so precise make it vulnerable to precise imperfection. They've never had to defend against intentional flaws. Because who would deliberately introduce flaws into their systems? Rajesh mused. Only a species that had learned to turn imperfection into an advantage. The Valoran High Council received Vertex's distress call with growing horror. Their perfect chamber, symbol of their civilization's order, seemed suddenly precarious. These humans, Zenith resonated, his crystalline form showing stress patterns, they're not just resisting integration. They're forcing us to confront chaos itself. But humanity wasn't finished. Through the quantum frequencies, they transmitted a message encoded in deliberately imperfect patterns. Your technology is beautiful, it read, but beauty isn't always about perfection. Sometimes it's about the harmonies that arise from discord. We tried to warn you. We didn't want to show you why our chaos frightens orderly minds. Across the Valoran fleet, ships began to show signs of structural change. The quantum discord wasn't destroying their crystalline forms, it was transforming them. New patterns emerged, irregular but somehow stronger than the original perfect geometries. They're not attacking us, Vertex realized, watching as quantum dissonance rewrote the very structure of his flagship. They're forcing us to adapt. To evolve. In the council chamber, Counselor Prism was beginning to understand. All our perfection, she said, watching the fleet's transformation through long-range sensors, all our order, we've been limiting ourselves. These humans, they're not primitive. They're what happens when a species learns to thrive in chaos. The truth was more profound than even the council could grasp. Humanity hadn't just learned to live with chaos, they had mastered it, turned the very unpredictability that the Valorans feared into their greatest strength. Do you think they understand now? Monica asked, watching the Valoran ship struggle with their new forms. They're beginning to, Rajesh replied. But understanding isn't enough. Now they have to choose, adapt or retreat. Face chaos or hide from it forever. The Valoran fleet hung in Earth orbit, their once perfect crystalline forms now showing patterns that had never existed in their species' history. They had come to teach humanity about order. Instead, humanity had taught them about the power of imperfection, the strength found in adaptation, and why a species that mastered chaos was polite enough to warn others not to make them angry. The next few hours would determine whether the Valorans could accept this lesson, or whether humanity would have to demonstrate just how far they could push the boundaries between order and chaos. As Earth's sun set on another day of the standoff, both sides prepared for a decision that would reshape galactic civilization itself. The nature of chaos. Dawn broke over the Himalayas as humanity waited for the Valorans' response. The once perfect crystalline fleet hung in Earth orbit, their ships now displaying patterns that defied traditional Valoran geometry. In the council chamber on Crystallos Prime, the High Council faced its greatest crisis in 10,000 years. Our fleet is changing, Zenith observed, his own crystalline form showing sympathetic resonance with the transformed ships. These new patterns, they shouldn't be possible. They shouldn't work at all. And yet they're stronger than our original designs, Counselor Prism finished. Her form had begun to show traces of irregular crystalline structures, as if the very idea of imperfection was infectious. The humans didn't just defeat our technology. They improved it. In the Himalayan facility, Dr. Olivia Zhang studied the readings from the transformed Valoran ships with growing excitement. Look at these energy signatures, she told her colleagues, gesturing at the holographic display. They're developing new configurations we never even considered. They're actually learning. Not just learning, Rajesh added, his dark eyes reflecting the shifting patterns. They're evolving. The question is, will they embrace it or fight it? The answer came in an unexpected form. On the Valoran flagship, Commander Vertex made a decision that would change galactic history. Instead of fighting the transformation, he let it happen. His crystalline form began to shift, incorporating the chaos patterns that humans had introduced. All ships, he transmitted, his voice carrying new harmonics never before heard in Valoran communication, except the discord. Let it flow. These humans, they weren't warning us about their weapons. They were warning us about their gift. The message reached the High Council as they debated their response. Prism's form pulsed with sudden understanding. All this time, she resonated, we thought bringing order to the galaxy was our gift to younger races. But there are depths of reality that perfect order cannot touch. Lieutenant Monica West watched the Valoran ships through the facility's quantum sensors, her tactical systems recording the unprecedented transformations. They're not just accepting the changes, she reported. They're building on them. Creating new patterns we never programmed. Of course they are, Rajesh smiled. We didn't give them a new program to follow. We showed them how to break free of programming itself. That's humanity's real gift to the galaxy, not chaos, but the courage to embrace it. The Valoran fleet began to move, but not in any formation known to their history. Each ship followed its own path, creating a dance of crystalline light that combined order and chaos in ways that defied traditional physics. It was beautiful, unpredictable, and more powerful than anything their perfect geometry had ever achieved. We understand now, Vertex transmitted to Earth. Your warning wasn't a threat. It was mercy. You knew what exposure to your chaos would do to us. Knew it would change us forever. Yes, Dr. Zhang replied through the quantum frequencies. Just as we knew that any species advanced enough to reach us would eventually need to face this truth, the universe isn't built on perfect order. It's built on the endless dance between order and chaos. In the council chamber, Zenith made a decision that would reshape Valoran civilization. Send word to all our worlds, he commanded, his form now showing complex patterns that would have been considered flaws mere days ago. The age of perfect crystal is over. We have found something greater, the strength that comes from embracing imperfection. The implications rippled through the galaxy like quantum waves through crystalline matrices. Other species, long held in check by Valoran standards of perfection, watched in amazement as the mighty crystalline empire began to change. The humans had done more than resist integration, they had introduced evolution into a stagnant system. Will they seek revenge? Monica asked, watching the transformed fleet. We did force this change upon them. No, Rajesh replied confidently. We showed them something they never knew they were missing. The joy of unexpected discovery. The thrill of controlled chaos. The power of imperfection. Dr. Zhang nodded, her augmented eyes tracking the new energy patterns emerging from the Valoran ships. Besides, they're too busy exploring their new capabilities. Look, they're already developing technologies we never imagined. By accepting chaos, they've unlocked potential they never knew they had. As Earth's sun set on the changed Valoran fleet, humanity reflected on the irony of their victory. They had defended themselves not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but by sharing the very thing that made them unique, their embrace of chaos, their comfort with imperfection, their ability to find strength in uncertainty. The galaxy would never be the same. The Valoran Empire, once the supreme force of order, had become something new, a civilization that understood both the beauty of perfect crystal and the power of controlled chaos. Other species would follow, learning that true advancement came not from imposing order, but from finding harmony between order and chaos. And humanity? They had proven why their warning should always be heeded. Not because they were dangerous, though they could be. Not because they were powerful, though they were. But because they understood something fundamental about the universe itself, that growth requires chaos, that evolution demands imperfection, and that the most beautiful patterns emerge when order and chaos dance together in perfect imperfection. The Meridian observation post logged Earth's last transmission to the transformed Valoran fleet. Welcome to the real galaxy. It's messy out here, but that's what makes it wonderful. Just remember, we did warn you not to make us angry. Next time, perhaps simply ask us to teach instead.